Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, and today on the show, we will be talking about mostly whatever you guys want to talk about. We're going to talk about the finals game that we just watched as the Oklahoma City Thunder looked like the kind of team that made them such heavy favorites in the first place. The final in game 2 was 123-107. We will talk about that game and some of my takeaways from it. I thought OKC going bigger again was a very predictable thing. They did that and looked better in those minutes than they did in game 1. Just looked more comfortable. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to talk about ESPN fixed the logo problem. We'll talk about that. And the game's continued regular season kind of vibe to it in the presentation. So I'll laugh a little bit about that. Raj told me after game 1 that maybe, just maybe, this might be a long series. It might be. We'll see. But this game, especially with OKC getting back to their kind of norms, I don't know. I just don't. If OKC plays up to their level, I don't know that Indiana can consistently get up to theirs, or to that level. So we'll talk about that. And then look, I'm gonna kind of race through most of that stuff because honestly, this is the Lakers show. You guys don't really care much about the finals, I would imagine. And I need you guys to leave me questions. I got some from Twitter. I think I have some from the iTunes mailbag. And I'll check in on those over the course of the show. But to those of you watching live, which, I hope you are. And if you're on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. But yeah, I hope that to those of you who are tuned in live, that you leave some questions here over the course of the show that I can react and respond to, because otherwise this show might be 5 minutes long. It won't be. I'm pretty good at stretching and rambling and stuff like that, but we might be looking at a little bit shorter show here on this Sunday night because that finals game was kind of boring. All right, so let's talk about that final there, 123-107. There was a stat that I meant to pull up and keep up, but I forgot. But Law Murray, who normally covers the Clippers for The Athletic, he tweeted this out. The Thunder outscored the Pacers 11-7 in the 5 minutes with Holmgren and Hartenstein sharing the floor. At least one of those two were on the floor for the entire game until 2:42 left in the fourth quarter, when the Thunder were up 17. In this game, you had Chet. He was a +4. You had Hartenstein was nope, he wasn't a game high. Hartenstein was a +17. Game high went to Aaron Wiggins, hilariously. We're gonna look back on this series and whether if OKC wins, maybe Shea wins Finals MVP, or if Indiana wins, obviously Haliburton would probably win MVP. But we're gonna look at the series, I would imagine, and this series is gonna swing on dumb Aaron Wiggins games, or we had Andrew Nembhard in game 1 go off. This one might be dictated by the role players, and even if the stars wind up getting the final credit. But anyway, the Thunder, I thought, stuck by their physicality advantages in this one a little bit more consistently, and took fuller advantage of said advantage. They grabbed 11 offensive rebounds in this one to Indiana's 7. They grabbed 43 total rebounds in this game, compared to Indiana's 35. Indiana turned the ball over a little bit less tonight, but not quite enough to where it would even out that possession battle. Indiana turned the ball over 15 times. OKC turned the ball over 13 times. OKC shot a grand total of 82 field goal. They had 82 field goal attempts. So did Indiana. Uh, the difference was OKC shot 33 free throws to Indiana's 26. And yeah, like the Indiana hasn't had a 20-point scorer yet in this series. They need to get a little bit more out of Hallie than they have so far in this series. Indiana does. But I really do think though that the story for me watching this game was OKC just looking bigger in this one. I just, when you try to match Indiana's pace, you try to match up with their spacing and their skill guys and all that stuff, you're going to run into some problems. Now OKC did start the game with that same 5-man unit, and tonight Kason Wallace was a plus 12. I think it helps to kind of get your feet underneath you a little bit. And the Thunder kind of jumped on Indiana, and yeah, the game was over. Not, I wouldn't say over, but it was not all that competitive after like 3/4 of the way through the first quarter. You kind of knew where this was going, and look, OKC's really good, and we'll see what Indiana looks like at home. But it's a series that, I have a fun question a little bit later on my betting strategy for the series. It's a series that now is I don't know. I think it's kind of crystallized, but look, who knows? All right. The real story from this one was ESPN and the NBA fixing the finals trophy decal with one of the most ridiculous. It's so stupid. Jen said it looked like they drew a couple dicks on the floor, and it's hard not to agree with it. I'm gonna try to find a graphic. I should have found a graphic of this NBA Finals trophy ESPN. Let's see if I find a. Yeah, here we go. All right, here's a graphic. It's not the best picture, but it'll do for right now. But so the conversation coming into this was, man, we sure do miss the the big bold trophy in the middle of the court. And the NBA was like, you know what? We hear you. Your opinions matter. Your feedback matters. We are here to give you an improved look on the court and all of that good stuff. And here's what they were able to bring to the table. Oh my God. So um I'm sorry. I don't know why I find so the essentially off to the side of the Paycom Center logo, which is, I believe, actually on the court, because that is who sponsors OKC's arena. Off to the side there, and basically uh every other logo that you see on the court, that is, digitally inserted by way of ESPN and its sponsors. So you have like YouTube TV sometimes, and you'll have I think we saw Fantastic Four some in nope, not Fantastic Four some. We saw some of Fantastic Four on the court. This this time, having heard the complaints and trying to identify that this is an NBA Finals game, the NBA and ESPN landed on that. They they decided that what everybody was missing was a couple of emojis. And it looked so bad. It looked terrible. It again, for one thing, the logos don't even match. Like the one closest to us is clearly leaned over a little bit further. The one up top is for some reason like it's just wow. I was just blown away by how terrible this is. And look, the idea of putting together a graphic that would actually sit in the middle of the court and not cover up Paycom Center, which apparently takes priority here. The idea of that, even if it would have been smaller, apparently they are concerned that that would make the middle of the court more slippery, which, okay, I would say that, you should be able to devise a court where that is a part of the court in the same way that the OKC would be. But regardless, apparently the technology just doesn't exist, or it would be too much money. Also of note here, take a look at the now look, this is a screen grab of live action, so it's not necessarily fully representative of what the picture looks like when we're watching the game, but the image is shit, man. Like we're still watching the NBA Finals, the culmination of an 82 game season and 3 playoff rounds to get here, plus the play in and plus the in season. Like this is the should be basketball's biggest stage, um, and yet we are watching this on 720p, not 1080. By the way, some of you are watching this show right now in what is it, 1080p. Like I right now am clearer to you, the audience who is watching on YouTube or maybe on Twitter. I right now am clearer to you on your computer screens than the NBA Finals are to its audience. That's insane. And as we talked about in the last game or after the last game, apparently it comes down to ESPN making the decision what kind of cameras to have in the building and what kind of cameras to make to record this game on, or to broadcast this game using. That still means that ESPN made a conscious decision to have its worst cameras. I watched the Manning brothers in like 8K. Peyton Manning has like a 7 head, and I have to watch that in the clearest high definition that exists to man. I'm watching this game, and it's like, is that TJ McConnell or is it Pascal Siakam? I can't quite tell. What are we doing? How is this still a conversation? Now, clearly, when you try to make half measures, you arrive at a couple of wieners on the court that are supposed to look like the NBA Finals trophy, the Larry O'Brien trophy. But this can't be your final product. As the narrative exists coming into the series that, yeah, this is just Indiana and it's OKC. It's not Lakers Celtics. Nobody's going to watch it. The NBA is like, yeah, you're right. We'll go ahead and broadcast this thing like I don't know, like a high school Division III state championship in Iowa. That might be broadcast better than this, honestly, locally in Iowa. But yeah, that was the logos are just hilarious. They are going to be the kind of thing that I hope the NBA gets shamed into acknowledging. But holy cow, Adam, grow a pair, step up to ESPN, and ask them what the fuck they're doing with your sport. All right. The Justin Hartford, the Clippy would be proud of what we just saw from the NBA. That was just unbelievable. I cannot believe that the NBA, like, they had a meeting. There was a meeting. ESPN and the NBA had a meeting, and they're like, all right, everybody really, really wants the logo on the court. How can we do this? And some Nepo baby at the back of the room was probably like, why don't we just put a picture of them the same way we do the rest of our ads? You're like, would it look good? I don't know. Should we test it? No. Let's just see what it looks like live. And you arrive with a couple of peni on the court. It's unreal, man. Unbelievable. It's the problem is it's believable. The problem is, like, ESPN treats the sport with so little give a bleep that this is actually believable. All right, next up, we were going to talk about Raj and I are going to do a show a little bit later in the week, but the last time Raj and I spoke, he told me how this was going to be this great series and how all of this stuff. I came into the series saying OKC in 3, compared them to an SEC team that plays a Pac-12 team in those college football playoffs. And this game looked a lot like that. And for most of game 1, it looked like that too. So for the vast majority of the series, to this point, through these 2 games, OKC has looked like the demonstrably better team. And look, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that this is a nice long series so I can continue to look and laugh at the way that ESPN fumbles this bag. But I still contend that this series is going to be over relatively quickly. OKC is just better. I don't think Dagno is going to continue to overthink, or he's already stopped overthinking the size thing here. Turns out, and as we've found out throughout these playoffs, bigger, stronger, faster really matters. And OKC is bigger, stronger, and faster. Now you do have the shooting variable. OKC is doing a really good job of they the Pacers shot 35% from 3-point range in this one. That's a number that they need to bring way up. And they we'll see what this looks like. But I don't know. Next time Raj and I talk, we'll talk a little bit more about the matchups and stuff. But what it comes down to me is OKC can do things that I just don't necessarily think Indiana has answers for. And Indiana, now they do make, like, life difficult, and they could wear down the Thunder with the 3-point shooting, and OKC having to close all the way out to a 3-point line for the duration of a series. The longer the series goes, the more you think that maybe that kind of wears down OKC's legs in this one. But I don't know. Raj and I went back and forth on this last time we talked. I walk away from this saying, yeah, this is kind of how I thought that the series was going to look, and kind of sort of how I think that the series is going to look moving forward. All right, let's dive into some of your questions here. We have a question from Lakers Fedora. Let's see. Oh, I did answer this did I? I think I did. They were Lakers Fedora was asking about the notion of trading Dalton Connect to get into the first round. I know that there are some teams that are in the first round that are maybe considering moving out of it. I just think that the Lakers' top priorities right now are all getting better in the immediate future. And if you expend resources to get younger when you have so few resources to work with, it would, you wind up coming up short in one of those ways. So Yeah, I would be pretty surprised if the Lakers traded into the first round right now. All right, let's dive into some of the comments that we have gotten over the course of the show. We have a couple of super comments. Well, one of them we already showed. I'll answer the second one here, but first, most important clip on the show. All right, Justin Hartford writing the entire NBA visual budget spent on the LeBron foul camera. Couldn't afford a graphic designer. Yeah, the shot that came in from the moon. Yeah, that I don't believe we have seen that since. They had it for that call and that call only, and we haven't seen it since. But yeah, I just am absolutely shocked. My dude Stats here saying, imagine watching the Super Bowl in 720p. 720p. Your home videos that you record on your iPhone are much clearer than that. Now it's only local recording. You aren't streaming them live or whatever. So like fine if you want to get super technical. But it is absolutely ridiculous that we're still talking about 720p in the year 2025. 2025, like again, coming into the series that the arguments from the mouth breathers in media is, well, nobody's going to watch it because this doesn't have LA. It doesn't have any markets. The markets are too small. Nobody's going to watch it. If you're the NBA, it's on you. If you're ESPN, it's on you to convince people to watch it. But when they turn this thing on and it looks like an episode of the old like and one mixtape back in the day that you used to get in VHS form from shoe stores, like that can't be your product. And I don't know how Adam Silver goes into a series, and maybe it's such a ridiculous thing that he didn't even think to ask, but I don't know how Adam Silver goes into a series having conversations with ESPN, and they're telling him, yeah, we don't think we're going to rate well enough to actually use proper cameras on this series. Are you okay with us kind of, you know, putting this up in black and white? Is that all right? It's insane. Absolutely insane that this is a thing that I can, and the fact that people are like standing it too. There's like somebody asking me, do I even like basketball, with me talking about production value of an NBA finals? Yes. Did you watch Roland Garros today? One, no dick emojis on Roland Garros's surface. Two, it was in absolutely pristine video. The video quality was incredible. Audio never cut out randomly, even though whenever the officials were calling fault, it sounded like they were screaming the F word from time to time. But no, they kept that rolling too. And Turner was able to put on a great broadcast of one of the best sporting events of my lifetime. And at no point was I ever like, thinking to myself, man, this is a really cheap product. I'm watching the finals of a much bigger sport, both domestically and internationally. And it's broadcast in like the same way that you would watch. Like, I'm waiting for the picture quality on this. I'm going to date myself a little bit here. But I remember my tia Berta, I would show up to her house and she would have movies that were still in theater. And I remember thinking, like, that's a little weird. How are you getting these movies so quickly? And so one day, I think she put on like Jurassic Park in the house. While again, the movie was still in theaters. And she puts on Jurassic Park, and right as like it's this super dramatic dun, 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 Like it's just like it's just the one of the most amazing images in the history of film and cinema. Some dude gets up carrying popcorn across the screen. I'm like, oh, okay. That's how you have this so quickly. And this I'm waiting for at some point somebody to get up in front of my screen while I'm watching this carrying some popcorn to or some kid to start crying in the background and impact the audio here. Like that's how bad that is. Again, it's a screen grab, the camera's moving, all of that stuff, but look at this. This is just terrible. That audio quality, is that Chet at the bottom of the screen or is it Bigfoot? I couldn't tell you. Like, is that Haliburton getting ready to guard Kason Wallace, or is it Reggie Miller getting ready to guard Gary Payton? I couldn't tell you. I legitimately couldn't tell you. It's just unbelievable how poorly they have represented the sport to this point in the series. And look, it's probably too late for them to actually address this. We saw what it looked like when they tried to address the trophy thing. God forbid they try to sneak an actual camera onto the court. All right. The next one here is, let's see, from okay, Hunter Heffington writes, "What bets did you place going into the series?" I'm not asking for specific money, of course, more so thought process. So far the series has gone kind of exactly how I was hoping, where I thought there was a chance Indiana might sneak game 1 and then I would get better value on OKC for the series. So I bet Indiana's money line in game 1, and then I bet right after that game, I bet OKC to win the series. I couldn't get a price on OKC in 5, but I was able to get, I think I got OKC for the series at like minus 400, maybe 450 when you compare that to the beginning of the series when they were minus 800. That's kind of how I saw it going. Now, again, I'm not the best gambler in the world. I miss far more often than I hit, but this series to me was relatively straightforward. Um, but yeah, we'll see how this turns out. Next question comes from what type of moves are the Lakers, or what type of moves would the Lakers like to move or make outside of bringing in a center? So uh, it seems to me the Lakers are pretty aware of their athletic deficiencies. So I think if they could, they would like to add some more practical foot speed on the perimeter to be able to defend better than they did. But the biggest thing right now is that focus on the center spot. And it's kind of hard to say like what would the Lakers like to do outside of that because of how much focus is being paid to that position. And then on top of it, what they do there is going to carry over to the rest of the off season, depending on how many assets they use to go out and get whatever center. So, yeah, I would probably say, kind of from a macro point of view, they do want to improve their foot speed. They do want to be more physical next year. Um, but first and foremost, and maybe even second most, third most, and fourth most, they know they need to add size in the front court. And then maybe they'll try to balance out the roster from there. I got another question here, which made its way into the headline. KR Swish writes, should the Lakers try for Bam Adebayo? What's the word on him around the league? Well, all right. Should the Lakers try for Bam Adebayo? they should try. They should kick the tires just to see, because like if you're already prepping to move, Rui and Dalton and the first pick and maybe swaps down the line for like Nick Claxton or Jared Allen, you may as well just kind of look over there and see what it would cost to try to bring in, the best center that you could feasibly bring in. So, as far as like what the word is on Bam around the league, some people I've spoken to have thought that Miami is getting ready for kind of more of a teardown. Pat Riley and the Heat have never operated like that though, so I'm a little skeptical that they would. And the problem too is that the Lakers' best asset to go out and get Bam would be Austin Reeves, but Austin and Tyler Hero would be a pretty limited uh backcourt. So you probably have to bring in a third or fourth team. Austin maybe goes there. Miami maybe gets the either draft assets or a better fit next to Hero than Austin would be. So or maybe they try to send Hero somewhere else. I don't know, but uh, I do think it's worth it for the Lakers to call up Pat. I would imagine that conversation has already taken place, to be completely honest, because of Pat's relationship with people within the Lakers organization. So I would imagine because both teams' seasons are officially over, they can have that conversation and just kind of see what the ballpark would be. I know conversations like that have taken place with Portland too. They have taken place with Brooklyn already. Like these conversations started a long time ago. So by the time that we actually get to this series ending, teams can kind of hit the ground running because you have so little time between the end of this series and the NBA draft, which happens like a couple of weeks later. So uh, I would imagine that the conversation about Bam has already started, definitely internally, but we'll see. Or I would imagine also they've spoken to Pat. Whether or not the Lakers can actually get that close, given again the complications with their best asset being Austin Reeves, who knows? But I would imagine they've checked in and they will continue to check in. Here's my thing, and I keep on coming back to this. I've probably said this in a few shows in a row now. Everybody else around the league is getting ready for the craziest offseason of all time. If you're the Lakers, you have to be doing the same thing. And Bam Adebayo, now he's not a perfect fit with Luka. He's a great fit. Don't get me wrong, but um, he's not quite the vertical threat that you would maybe be looking for, given what you're giving up. He's still an incredible defender. He would, I would probably say, while there are offensive questions about that fit, the defense would kind of make up for some of those. So I could see the Lakers maybe convincing themselves on him in that regard. But overall, after you check in there, at the very least, you would say, well, shit, we can maybe get Bam for X, Y, and Z. I'm not interested in your much worse center for X, Y, and Z. Would you be interested in X? Would you be interested in Y? Would you be interested in X and half a Y? Um, and maybe that allows you to get a little bit more leverage that way. The biggest thing here for the Lakers is making it known to the rest of the league that they have options, plural, and several of those options, so that they can go into these conversations because all of these teams know they desperately need a center. Is a lot of animosity towards the Lakers because they got Luka for cheap. And a lot of these teams are going to be like, nope, you're not going to do us like that. And we'll see, to what extent the Lakers are able to. But if you go into, a conversation with Portland and the conversation for like DeAndre Ayton is, yeah, give us what you were ready to give up for Mark Williams. You just say, come on, I can get so and so for that package, and they don't have nearly the questions about them or him as Ayton does, and that's the kind of way I would kind of approach this if I were Rob Pelinka. Um, Justin, we do have um M Haggard asking me if uh OKC is still a D&D ass team. Yeah, I would say so. That that branding is not going anywhere anytime soon. Hartford Justin, can we talk about the French Open final? Yeah, it was incredible. I was blown away by the mental fortitude it took for Alcaraz to get back into the match. That act by itself was incredible. But then on top of it, they go in, they play like a top 5, I think it was, longest finals match ever. Um, and you look at both of those guys, and they are hitting insane Alcaraz, especially in that tiebreaker at the end there. But both guys are hitting insane shots. 5 hours into a match, and it was just those guys are both so young. That is the future of the sport. The future there is really, really bright. I was just blown away. Absolutely blown away. That was some of the best, not just tennis, but sports I have ever watched. All right. I think that is Oh, this is a good question. Lobos, did you see the Pistons are looking for a stretch big? That is via Mark Stein's Substack. If they get one, do you think one of Duran and Stewart would be available? I think it kind of depends on which center they get. Like if they get Naz Reid, then yeah, I would imagine one of Isaiah Stewart or Jalen Duran it is made available. Um, I would like either, to be completely honest. I probably more lean towards Duran, just because he's bigger. But I also like the fact that it's been a long time since the Lakers had a guy like Stewart where other teams would be legitimately nervous around because he looks to fight more than play basketball. So either of those guys are interesting. Um, we'll see to what extent that is actually true. Not saying that Mark's report. Sorry, good lord. Not saying that Mark's report would be false here. Only that like this is the time of year where agents do a lot of work to remind, especially given how difficult it was for players to come by free agency money last year. This is the time of year where agents send nice cordial reminders to teams that yeah, they got to pay their client. And in this case, look for a lot of players to be linked to Detroit because they are one of very few teams that actually have cap space. And yeah, I can kind of see it. I know Naz Reid was kind of mentioned as a possibility there, but to me that felt more like, hey, they're interested. We're not going to be cheap. Just make sure make sure you pay us, and we'll see how that goes for everybody involved. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here now. We have a loaded week ahead of you. It's a Harrison week, it's a Pete week. Um, I am working to line up a couple of other guests over the course of the week as well. We have player season reviews. We have rumors that are going to start getting going again. So I am going to save my voice for now, jump out of here for now, and go ahead and enjoy the rest of my night. Hope y'all do the same. And until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. This has been Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your evening. Make somebody else's. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everyone.